there, good evening and welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt and it's an absolute pleasure to have you back here on the channel once again on the YouTube. We're also going live on X. And if you are listening, I say listening, why would you say that, Steve? Because Paddy is also simultaneously streaming to our YouTube. Not YouTube, we're on there, sorry, our TikTok, the infamous Paddy TikTok, and I am coming through as audio only on that. That's a wee sort of snag. We're going to try and do that going forward. We'll find a more smoother way to do it, but the main point we're making here is we're trying to extend ourselves to more of our community, which is growing. As we said before, we'll say it again, we'll say it a million times, hit subscribe on our YouTube. We're about 60, just a mere 60 away from that magical 3,000 subscribers. It costs you absolutely nothing. All the content here is 100% free and we'll intend to keep it that way. Help us hit the 3,000, make it happen. Connect with us elsewhere. You may well be watching on our X at CWPod1888. You may well be listening to us or watching Paddy on the TikTok. But you can get us in other places. All the links are down below. So, welcome back to the show, and it is a wee bit different. We are going to, as it says there, we're also going to, at the tail end of this, we're going to have a wee look towards tomorrow's early European kickoff against Midtjylland in the Europa League. But we are here for one of our wee sort of light-hearted comic relief, if you will, shows, and it is, of course, but it's becoming something a wee bit of a cult, popular sort of thing that we've been doing, I guess. Room 10167. Full disclosure, is an absolute direct rip-off of that very popular 90s, 2000s show, Room 101, but with a wee Celtic twist on it, because I sit here in the chair, I have a guest on, and I give them up to 4 chances to put to me their arguments for what they wish to be banished into Room 10167. They have 4 attempts at it for their Celtic-related pet peeves, and it can be absolutely anything. Nothing is not, up for debate here. Disclosure, the board are already in it. They were the first ones in it, and there has been others. Paddy, our very own Paddybhoy, my right-hand man, it's his turn to step up to the plate. I thought, let's get one in-house. Paddy, are you ready for this? Do you have some good stuff for me?
Yeah, I've had a wee look about, Steve. I've got a few things there that I'd like to add. So yeah, let's dive into it and see if people agree with what I'm saying, and if anybody's got any other suggestions that they might like to add in there as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, as we said, this will sound as a wee bit, it's tongue-in-cheek. It'll sound like a moaning podcast, because it is a moaning podcast, but we're moaning about trivial, stupid things, and that is the whole point of it. As always, make it interactive. This is what we're always trying to do here in CWO. Get your comments in. What would you put into a Room 10167? What are those wee things, Celtic related, that do your nut and that you just simply can't stomach and you would love to see the back off? Get them up. We'll try and bring it in. And as we go through the conversation with Paddy, let's know what you think he has points that he's raising. Does he make a compelling point? Do you agree with him? Or, excuse my French, is he just talking pish? Well, anyway, here we go. And just want to say, the Bold 420, thank you very much. He's gifted out 1 CWO membership, so a very lucky person who gets that there. And he says, God bless the CWO. We appreciate that. He has been an original member, and he's been a member now for 16 months. Absolutely fantastic, mate. We love it, and we love the continued support. And if you want to get involved in that, you can. Membership section, as we always say, completely, up to you. No obligation. It's just a wee donation. It helps with overheads. It helps run this show. And that is it. So, Paddy, let's get down to business, as we always say. But I'm sure you'll be happy. I'm sure you'll be giving me some good stuff, because just before we drip into it, I'm assuming you're still happy. Have you been enjoying the meltdown after Sunday's events, the statement and everything?
It's incredible. Statement FC are back. Celtic making cup finals, as they always do. The Rangers making statements, as they always do. That's basically what it's come down to. And listen, winning semi-finals isn't for everybody. That's kind of where I'm at with it. The TikTok's been wild. Obviously, I've been getting hounded on there by countless amounts of their fans, countless amounts of Hearts fans as well. I must say, there's been a few of them in the chat going a wee bit crazy. But that's good on the Hearts fans. It's nice of them to have a wee bit to sing about. But aye, mate, still buzzing off it. Still absolutely flying. Obviously enjoyed the podcast that we done during the week that will be out on Friday. Really enjoyed that. So, aye, mate, everything's flying so far. It's going well.
wee week, hasn't it? And obviously, as we'll talk about at the end, it could get better. But yes, I've been enjoying it, and do you know what I love about it as well? Though I love the fact that nobody. Well, I say nobody. They won't agree with us. We won't agree with them. And even the pundits can't agree. The amount of arguing, the amount of shit slinging, the amount of bickering has been through the roof. It's been biblical. But as we say, it all seems to spin around this one decision. And once again, it's Rangers who are hard done by. They've put in a letter and they're unhappy with the way things are done. I don't want to flog that dead horse. But let's get real here, Paddy. Let's get completely real. I can't remember a time, whenever Rangers didn't get a lot of favourable treatment. And I feel that when you look at that game, everybody's talking about what happened with Trusty, but they failed to neglect. And there was a great video put out there of the numerous other, against Celtic decisions that could have been out there. Real attack getting poleaxed in the box, a handball that could have been a penalty. Cornelius staying on the pitch, Raskin wanting a wee skirmish when he's on the yellow card and a wee fight at the end, stuff like that. It all goes sweepy, sweep, because it didn't really matter. But yes, we will continue to be happy. Hopefully, we'll have another good result under St. Martin tomorrow night, and maybe we'll see another demoralising, crushing defeat to the Baddies against Roma. So it could get better. But it doesn't get any better than this, Paddy. Talking about stuff that annoys you, let's jump straight in there. Welcome to everybody that's in there. We're circling around about 50 folk. I don't know if folk are on the TikTok or the X because I can't see those things, but let's get involved and get in about it. Paddy, this is your chance. The guests so far have been pretty compelling. There's been some good stuff. I'm expecting big things from you, Paddy, and let's get straight in about it because your first topic is, and I don't think you will get much pushback from those in the comments, those listening, those watching along here, because the first thing you want to put in the bin is half and half scarves, Paddy. Half and half scarves.
Yeah.
The tourist scarf. Tell me, Paddy, it sounds obvious, but what on earth is going on here? Talk to me about your disdain for the half and half scarf.
Aye, mate, for me, it's one of the things that if you go to a Celtic game, you should have a hoop scarf, either a scarf that's green and white or green, or have you never walk alone on it. Even the player ones I disagree with to an extent, but this half and half stuff, mate, nah, it's not for me. Listen, I don't deal with that kind of stuff. When European teams are coming here, right, so obviously Midtjylland are coming tomorrow night and stuff.
Oh, we're away, mate. We're away.
So I know, but we're out there. So we get Midtjylland up next, as you say. So there'll be a scarf there with Celtic and Midtjylland in it. When Barcelona come, you get Celtic and Barcelona. MDLs comes, you get Celtic and them. And that's not for me, mate. When these teams are coming to Celtic Park, I want them to get absolutely melted. I don't want all of this stuff. I don't want to be cuddling their fans outside the stadium and saying, oh, look at us, we are matching scarves. Nah.
Is that birthday card pish, mate? Is that what you're trying to tell me here?
Maria said I hadn't to say it's birthday card pish because I always say stuff's birthday card pish. But do you know what it is? It's completely birthday card pish. That's exactly what it is. It's one of these things, mate, that just, it's just not for me. It really isn't. And I don't know what your thoughts are in the comments. Let us know, but nah. Honestly, you should have a scarf that's, see the original green and white squares, mate. Perfect. That's all you need. You imagine everybody in that stadium with one of these scarves? Or can you imagine going to a Celtic Rangers game and somebody pulls up a half and half scarf? You would melt them. You really, really would. Do you know what I mean? So
that is an extreme reaction to the half and half scarf. I must say, so where are you at with it? As I always ask, you're putting it towards me. It's fairly self-explanatory, but I want to know, we've used the graphic here, and this is, again, we always talk about Celtic. Remember, not another penny, not one more penny to the club at present, but this goes back to a Champions League campaign there, and then you can see the three teams on there. And as some folk are saying, there are some things that don't really mix. Who's running about with a half and half Lazio and Celtic scarf? I mean, in terms of two teams and what's perceived to be their backgrounds and things like that, I don't imagine that was a great seller, was it? Exactly. Does this extend into, is this the general just, it doesn't matter where they come for the street vendor that's trying to make a quick buck to the club, or is there a sliding scales of your rage? Is it worse if the club are doing it?
Aye, 100% it is. Like you said, Steve, who's going out there and buying a Celtic Lazio scarf? Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely crazy. Things like that, mate, it really, really gets on my wick. I think everybody should own a Celtic scarf. And nobody should own a half and half scarf. I really
Just
100%
a green and white
agree
bar
with
scarf, is that it? Is
mate.
the status
Listen,
quo?
there are other scarves available. I will say that, right? But for me, it's just green and white hoops. Perfect. That's all you need, right? My daughters, when they were younger, and I took them to the football and stuff, they got the pink and white one. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. No other teams on it. It's Celtic. That's it. The scarves that the Kano Foundation give to the kids, perfect. Promotes the foundation, promotes other things. Brilliant. Use it for what it is. It's a scarf to support Celtic, not to support anybody else. And for me, mate, nah, ditch it. Get it right in the bin.
Mate, there's a lot of people that are disliking on the old half and half. Even my old ma does not like the half and half scarf.
Yeah. Listen, if Maggie doesn't like it, get it in the bin, mate. That's all I'm going to say. That's it.
That is telling you something. But yes, and it comes back down to, so there's a few folk that are asking, right? You said as well, you've spoke about the player scarf and stuff like that. And I guess that's more aimed at, young fans that they've got their favourite player and things.
Yes.
I get that, right? I get that. But in terms of this idea about half and half scarf, right? And I'll ask you this then. Is it acceptable under any circumstances? For example, folk have fired in there a testimonial. So let's just say it was the James Forrest testimonial and you wanted to commemorate Jamesy Forrest's testimonial as your favourite player, and it's a half and half scarf because it's not a competitive match. It's a bona fide sort of friendly, and normally the team that you're playing against in these circumstances are of similar, or there's some connection there with the club. I'm not trying to lowball here. Is that acceptable?
No, it's not. It's not at all. Listen, if you want to support a scarf, if you want a scarf for a friendly, you get a scarf with James Forrest's face on it. One of the ones, you get a Jamesy Forrest scarf or a Celtic Foundation scarf, something that's going to put money back into the club. Not one of these half and half scarves that's been made by a wee vendor that's making £8 off every scarf. That's not for me, mate. No, buy a scarf with Jamesy Forrest on it and give the money to the foundation. Don't be giving the money to a daft wee guy that's just made up a scarf with, say, Celtic Man United, Celtic Bayern Munich, Celtic, whoever it may be. That's not for me, mate. Get it in the bin.
What about then? So again, I'm going to kick back on it. What about? And again, we don't really get much opportunities. There's been one, right, in our time. What about you go to the UEFA Cup final?
Yeah.
And you've got your programme, you've got your shirt, you've got your ticket stub, you've got maybe, I've got all the paraphernalia that they were giving out, all the Carlsberg associated pamphlets. I've got all that stuck away from when I was there, right? What about you want just the scarf, or you want a pendant or something that's got both clubs on it to commemorate that day? Is that acceptable to Paddy?
That's birthday card pish, mate. That's what that is. Why would you want something for another club? I'm a Celtic fan. I go to watch Celtic. I didn't go to the UEFA Cup final in 2003 to watch Porto. I went to watch Celtic. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, I wouldn't have any of that stuff kicking about. It's not for me. Like, maybe other people have it. Maybe some people like it. If you do, that's completely your wrong opinion. So for me, mate, nah. It's nothing. You're a Celtic fan. Buy a Celtic scarf. Don't have any other teams on it. We should be promoting other teams. We really, really shouldn't. Whether it's European football, whether it's can you imagine somebody going to a Falkirk game or a Kelly game with a half and half scarf? Like, mate, come on, you're not going to get it during that. So
that's got to be up there. Is that up there with the? Remember when Celtic Rangers were both sponsored by Carlin? There was a PR stunt. It was the half and half Rangers and Celtic. Come on, come on.
I mean, I get sick for wearing this jersey because it's obviously the first Celtic jersey of red, white, and blue on it. But I quite like this top. I really do.
I used to call it the Hills top because of the weird beaks on it. But there you go. Paddy, do you know what? Listen, I think this is fairly universal, I must say. You've came in here pretty hot. You have came in here hot. And I can't disagree. Half and half scarves, man. I mean, it's literally tourist league stuff. I expect to see half and half scarves when you go down to the EPL. And you get tourist fans, and that's what it's turned into. As I said, I think for me, I wouldn't have one. I wouldn't go out my way and buy one. The likes of things like with pennants and stuff like that. I would maybe have something like that to fair away in the collection. I don't have one, for complete disclosure here. But for example, as I say, if you got to a European final or something, and maybe there was something that was brought out to commemorate it, I would maybe get something like that, or like a plaque or something. Obviously, it helps if you win it, of course, and you might want it more again. But under the normal circumstances, no, I don't like it. And I see them and I'm very traditionalist, and you'll know this when we get around to me talking about this at some stage. I am very traditionalist, where even the likes of the player scarves and all that, it's no for me, right? That's money old man, but I'm so pernickety. I am very much on board with you. I like a Celtic bar scarf, green and white. Keep it basic. Maybe at a push, you get one of those wee fancy scarves that you used to be able to get a wee silky scarf or something like that. But no, I'm 100% against the half and half scarf. I think this one's an absolute no-brainer, Paddy.
Yes.
So, yes, without further ado, half and half scarves. They are gone. They're banished. They're in room 10167, burning in the fires of room 10167. Hell, never to come back. I don't want to see a half and half scarf. If you're running a bit in a half and half scarf, I would expect that you need to be a child, because anything else is unacceptable, in my opinion.
If you still wear a half and half scarf, your ma probably still cuts your hair. That's all I'm going to say.
I thought you were going to say you do not have the intensity. You certainly don't have the intensity of Paddy if you're on the half and half scarf. I love it. Do you know what I love here? I love is just to bring up the comments. I love how Jay's absolutely all the way over in Italy is absolutely tearing strips off you for that tap. By the way,
Wait a wee second. I'm going to disappear for 1 second.
The shirt's a disaster. The worst period in history. The People's Red, White and Blue sponsor. The graph line showing a financial situation. Shocking in every single sense. Yes, it is. But I'll straight up with you here, Jay. There we go. He's in the old samurai shirt. That's a wee bit more familiar. I'll straight up with you. The People's one that he was wearing, it's so bad, it's amazing. I used to love that shirt as a child. For whatever daft reason, I don't know, because, the 90s were a different time. The style was bogus. But I had to buy it. It was one I had to have in my collection. And it's so bad, it's amazing. It's one of the tops that I think when you wear it and you're at a game and you catch somebody's eye and they look at you and you're like, yes, so I'll back you up, Paddy. Don't worry. I've got your back here. So, Paddy, I believe that you have got another one. And again, I must be honest, I've been quite impressed with your list so far, but that doesn't guarantee you anything, right? So your second topic, Paddy, I believe, is away fan allocations. Now, again, I think this maybe seems self-explanatory, but we all know the reasons why there's some of these away fan allocations. Is this, I am assuming, this is strictly domestic football, because when it comes to Europe, there is a minimum requirement that you have to get.
Yeah. It's basically down to SPFL teams, mate. When you look at it, and you've got teams in our league that can't fill our stadium, when Celtic go to play Dundee, or when Celtic go to play Falkirk or whoever else, and there's so many empty seats sitting there, up the allocation. Yes, I understand they don't want to make it a home advantage for Celtic, and they don't want Celtic to have too many fans in there, but why have empty seats? These teams are coming up here, and if you listen to guys like David Martindale, he comes out on a regular basis and says that these teams cannot compete financially with Celtic and Rangers. But yet again, they would rather sit there and have a half-empty stadium than fill it. If they fill that stadium with Celtic fans, which, trust me, they will, because their tickets are so much cheaper than ours as well, they will fill that stadium. 100% they'll fill that stadium. Yes, it might give us a slight advantage. Yes, that's probably detrimental to them. But would you rather be financially better off, or would you rather bite the hand that feeds you? That's basically the way I look at that, mate. And do you know what? I think it's a disgrace when you watch these games and you see all the empty seats, because I'd love to go to every away game. I really would, but it's so hard to get a ticket.
I mean, so Paddy, I'm maybe going to be an unfashionable person in the comments with this. I hear what you're saying. I really do. But I'm also very much on if the stance, if the clubs in question, we've seen a reduction for Hearts. I think there was a wee bit for Hibs. There is some that are quite generous. Kilmarnock are usually quite generous.
Yeah.
Mirren are quite generous. The aforementioned Livingston are quite generous. What I would say is, though, I don't necessarily think that any team are under any obligation to give us a higher percentage of the stadium, regardless of what their normal attendance rates are. And that sounds really daft. And it does come back to what you're saying about why cut off your nose to spite your face. We complain about the quality of Scottish football. The argument that you're making is if you get in more fans and take advantage of Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, whoever it is, give them more allocation, get more money in, you'll maybe be able to spend more and put a better product on the pitch. And also, it looks better on the telly. I get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is sometimes reasons. And sometimes it is the fans themselves saying, if you fill up our stadium 2 times a season, whatever it may well be, 3 times a season with Celtic or Rangers fans, then we're not going to go. We know that we're a small number and you might make your money back by, having those fans in instead of us. But we are essentially the ones that have been turning up for years. So does that not in any way, shape or form maybe change your viewpoint on that, Paddy?
Not at all, mate. Not at all. These football clubs are the ones that are coming out and saying that financially they need the income of teams like Celtic and Rangers. They need that influx of cash. And like you said, there's teams there that do up the slight allocation, but mate, they don't up it to the extent where they're filling that stadium. And there's still thousands upon thousands of empty seats. Now, you look at the cup final that's going to be coming up as well, Celtic against St Mirren. And if you look at that, mate, are we going to be given a 50-50 allocation? Is that the way it's going to go? Or St Mirren going to get 50% of Hampden? It's pointless.
I imagine they will project what they think they're going to get. Now,
Yes.
One thing I would say is I think that out of the other teams in the league, St Mirren aren't too bad. St Mirren usually get a decent wee turnout. And given the occasion, and again, you could say fair weather fans, how many did you turn up at your semi-final? Why should you get half? I get that. I really do. And that is also another argument to look at it. But I would be fairly confident. I don't think they're going to fill half of, Hampden. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do reckon that they could probably get a good sort of 15, maybe 20,000. I think they'll get a good turnout because of the occasion and where it's coming up and that. But no, get back on the focus there and looking at it there. Sligo Boy saying St Mirren will fit their 8,000 capacity and regardless, Kelly, about 18,000 by a quarter of the attendance. That's true. And I think that is, when you look at it, St Mirren will be able to sell out that cup final, no bother. For multiple reasons. Obviously, it's a big deal that they're there, but they'll also feel fairly optimistic. They're a pretty well organised team, and in a one-off game, they'll fancy their chances. Fans will turn up for it. But coming back to the last time was obviously the big game against Hearts, a slightly reduced allocation there as well. And obviously, it didn't go down too well. Again, I want to ask the question, Paddy. It's, as you say, it may well give an advantage to Celtic if they've got more in the crowd, right? But if you're a team like Hearts and you're doing quite well, let's be honest, you're doing well in terms of your performance, you're doing well, kind of well financially, you've got a wee extra boost, the Tony Bloom stuff, they're in a good spot at the moment now, they can offer you the bare minimum of what they're told they have to give you. And again, as I say, surely that then falls back on a club to make their own decisions.
Yes, the clubs do make the decisions, but it just irritates the life out of me, Steve-o, when you watch a game on TV or when you're trying to get a ticket to go to an away game and it's like trying to pull hen's teeth. It really, really is. You go onto all the supporters buses and stuff like that and the allocation they get is ridiculous. It really, really is. And Celtic is a massive club. We should have that following fan base. And I'm not saying we should get 3/4 of a stadium. That's not really realistic, but I'd expect them to give us at least, I don't know, just over a quarter or something, do you know what I mean? Because we're certainly not getting that. When you look at these games, Steve, like you said, some teams do up the allocation, especially towards the end of the season, if we are going to win the league. Like St Johnstone gave us both stands, didn't they? They gave us the north and south stands, whatever. And that's brilliant. That's excellent. But why weren't they doing that throughout the season when they had nobody sitting in there watching the games? I managed to go to, was that Celtic St Johnstone game? And there must have been about 2,000 people there, mate. And probably about 700 of them were Celtic fans. And it was ridiculous. You're just looking around the stadium and you're going, why is this not full? Because it could be, if they had said to Celtic, listen, we will not fill this stadium. We have so many season ticket holders, we expect to sell this. There's the allocation. If you can sell them, sell them. And if these teams done that, mate, they would make so much more profit, and it would help them as well.
I've had this debate before, I've had this question asked and I've debated it before, but I agree. I say, get more money in, take advantage of every sort of avenue you can to get some finances, and it'll maybe improve the general standard of your team, of your facilities, maybe your pitch itself, and you might perform better. You might climb the league higher. You might, as a result, get more prize money off it. So I do totally understand that. Again, the flip side, as I say, always comes back to some fans that are digging in their heels, and you might say, well, who are these random St. Johnstone fans that are hardcore that don't want Celtic to fill out their stadium? They do exist, and it is one of those ones where it's a balancing act for the clubs. I'm going to be honest with you, Paddy, I personally am not on board with this one. That might surprise you, but it comes back to what I'm saying as well when it comes to playing certain teams, and they sit in and they're just, banking right in front of their box, right? Bank in, sit in deep, don't play football. And folks sit there and moan and say, can't believe they don't try to play football. It's a disaster. It's shite to watch. It's crap. We can't do anything against it. It's hopeless, right? As I say about that, that's their choice. They've got to do what they've got to do, but it suits them. See if it ends up they get a tank and all idiots for doing it, then that's fine. Similarly as well, see if they do cut their nose off to spite their face, and some people are saying in the comments, if these teams end up finding themselves in a wee bit of financial hardship because they haven't taken advantage of everything that they can get, then so be it. I will sit and laugh at them, but I do understand, and I, personally speaking, I sit there and I look at it and say, well, it is completely up to them. We don't have any divine right to get an increased amount. And so on and so forth. I would maybe argue the toss if we are looking at it as being Celtic, Rangers, Hearts and Hibs, right? I don't think it's acceptable to be reducing those kind of fixtures because historically they've always had good attendances in the away section. We know when that really started, and let's be totally honest, without making something up, which I'm going to say, Rangers started the reduced allocation for every team. Let's be totally honest, that's where it all originated from. They couldn't handle it, and then they took it away for us, and then the knock-on was, well, they didn't want to let in, they wanted to let in the bare minimum to every single travelling support.
Yeah, well, you've just basically took the last part of my argument, Steve. I knew you were going to come back at me on this, and I knew that you were going to say that you didn't feel that it was ready for the bin, and the Rangers part was where I was going to then go with it. Obviously, they reduced the allocation of Celtic fans going in there because we were going in and basically scudding them in their own patch, and they didn't like us celebrating in front of them. Now, I understand that. That's all fine and well because of the rivalry and stuff like that. But again, it comes down to the financial part for these other smaller clubs, Steve. And I understand that you're saying that you will laugh about it and whatever and blah, blah. But when these teams sit there at the end of the year and go, oh, we only made this. Yeah, that's fine. Celtic made such and such. Yeah, brilliant, excellent. They could have made so much more because Rangers, if they sell the allocation to them, they will sell it out. Hearts, if they sell the allocation to them, they will sell it out. Hibs, like you said, yeah, sell it out. Aberdeen even take an incredible away support. And if you're going to some of these smaller teams, I'll say, probably the teams in the bottom five, I know Rangers are in there now probably, but if you're going to some of these teams, you should get that increased allocation, mate, because it's going to help the team going forward. It might not help you in that game, but it's going to help you going forward. And that's basically my argument for it. It's going to push these teams to better things in the future.
And do you know what, Paddy? I fully agree with everything you're saying. But as I says, I'm a hard taskmaster. And regardless of that, you're reduced away. As stinking as it is when it's on the TV, as crap as it is for those that are on the ticket scheme to try and get a chance and don't. As garbage as that is, you've kind of hit the nail on the head, as have I as well. The crux of it is they should give higher allocations because it's going to help them beneficially in a financial sense. However, they make the decision and they feel that they can get away with it and don't need it. So to that end, I can't put it in, Paddy. I just simply can't put it in. The clubs make their decision. If they want to die on that sword, if they want to fall on it, then so be it. But they make decisions based on what they perceive to be best for them on the pitch to keep their own fans happy, and they must think that they can afford to do it. So unfortunately for you, Paddy, to that end, it's access denied. I'm just no putting in reduced allocations away, as I said, because we don't have a divine right. As much as I'd love to see it, as much as it gives you a better chance to get a ticket, at the end of the day, the clubs that are there make their decisions. And let's be honest, we've also at times reduced our allocations as well. So you can't have it both ways, big man. You can't have it both ways. There you go.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion, Steve.
Boo! Boo, Steve-O! Boo! In the bin with Steve-O. Right, so this one, I think is a compelling point, Paddy. I've kind of tried to word it as best as I can, but I'm sure you'll tell us here. You are saying the next on your agenda is the cost of friendlies / early season matches. Now, when I asked you what the beef with that was, you alluded to this. Do you ever remember the old school ticket books? And we're talking about, you used to get a couple of freebies. In the modern day, we'd maybe call it added value. I think if my mind serves me correct, you used to be able to get a voucher in your book for a pre-season friendly. You usually got a early cup game and or a early European qualifier if applicable. Yeah. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah. That's basically where we're at with it, mate. When you look at the price of a season ticket now, you're upwards of £600, and you came to the beginning of this season, we've got these friendly cups, whether it's the Adidas Cup, the Como Cup, the, I don't know, Viagra Cup, whatever else was there. I don't know, they can call it whatever they wanted. But you're getting all of these daft cups, mate, and it's basically just stealing money for fans. That's all it is, mate. Ridiculous. The Newcastle game, what was it, £42 a ticket for a friendly?
It was steep. It was steep,
mate. Absolutely stinking. Now, that's a game that should be included in your season ticket. That's one of the ones that should have been given out to people who bought season tickets as an added bonus. Or even better, give it to kids in schools. Mm-hmm. Invite kids for schools in there. Get the new brand of Celtic fan. Do you know what I mean? Let's push it out there and try and push the Celtic brand towards kids that want to go watch Celtic, because growing up, mate, I never had loads of money to go to football games and say to do this. I remember getting lifted over the turnstiles and stuff like that. And if you had to go and pay for every friendly and every European game and everything else on top of your season book, you're the best part of £1,000. And
you can do well over that as well. Bear in mind, depending on where you sit, some of those season books are right tasty on price, mate.
I'm just going with the cheap seats, mate, the £600 ones like that. That's basically your cheap seats at Celtic, and it's absolutely ridiculous, mate. So to think that they're starting to charge people, like you say, for early season games, early season matches, your qualifiers, we've got to play 3 qualifiers next year, and I doubt any of them will be 3. Yeah, I doubt any of them will be in the season book. So there's another £120 by the time you pay your 3-match package if you get through them. Yeah. So that's another, do you know what I mean? Added onto your season book. So that's your £720 before the season's even kicked off. It's, mate, honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it just shows that this board are a bunch of money grabbing fuckers, basically. And for me, mate, I just find it absolutely horrible. And I think we need to go back to our roots. We need to look at the roots of Celtic. Celtic was founded as a charitable foundation, and it's just madness, mate, honestly.
Listen, I don't think you're going to get much disagreement. What do you think? Get in the comments. We've got a good few in there, about 70 odd in there now, plus whatever's on TikTok. What's your thoughts on this? Do you remember, as we just showed there, the old season books? I used to like as well. I'm showing my age here, maybe sound a bit sort of like a sad case, but I really liked that. There was something nice about every season. You get a different wee wallet, a wee different design on it. You had wee tickets. I know it's old school, right? But it felt like a wee bit of personality, didn't it? A wee bit of personality. Your season ticket, it's just a credit card now. It is what it is. But no, we talk about this added value, right? And it comes back to as well when we remember the dreaded COVID season, and it was online season tickets, right? That was another thing that they always pushed that line during that season. Virtual season ticket with added value, and the added value wasn't even there. It was non-existent. It was like a £50 voucher for the superstore that probably nobody got a chance to use. The product, the Celtic TV, everything was garbage. There was no added value. There was no, of course that is, but we talk about, what the easy layups that they could have done on a season book, whether it was virtual or real. You either get half price or free entry to youth matches, or B squad matches up at Excelsior, or the female team, the ladies team. Go and see the women, go and see the youth, make it happen. You get extra. Try and encourage people in to go and see those additional versions of the Celtic squads. Right, go and see it. or as we said, getting a freebie, getting a pre-season friendly, right? It didn't matter who it was against, you would get one. You know, and I know they maybe go, oh, look at these attractive names that we've got coming in. But as you say, is Newcastle 45 quid for pre-season friendly? That's steep, isn't it? That's steep. And it's not as if the turnout is really that great, is it?
No, definitely not. See if you're going to a game like that, mate. See if it was 15 quid a ticket. You'd fill the stadium, no problem at all. At 45 quid a ticket, people look at it and they go, right, if I'm going to take the wee man, I'm the best part of 100 quid today. And that's just, it's not feasible, especially in this day and age. There's a recession going on, man. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, we want to get back to Celtic's roots. Celtic was a charitable foundation, founded to help out people in the situations that we've got just now. And at the minute, Celtic just seems to be robbing people blind. And it's not for me, mate. I look at these games and these fixtures and I just think that they could be doing so much more to help the fan base, to boost the fan base, to make the fan base that wee bit happier.
There's always something that you can give back. And when that, and this is the thing, right? Look at the increase in season tickets. And I'm on board with you here, Paddy, believe it or not. In case you've not noticed, right? When you look at the increase in season ticket prices, right? See if they gave you the friendly, they're kind of just sneaking in for nothing, right? Like they're still charging you for it because you know, even if it's just that, you know, in your head kind of thing, you think you're getting something for free when the reality is you probably aren't. See, just the fact that it's there, you probably will go, all right, aye, my season tickets went up 40 quid this season, but at least I'm getting a free game out of it. So, you know. It kind of it's the same thing basically is what I'm getting at, and they've not even the times with the financials. When was the last time we done actual proper price freeze on season tickets, or even dare I say a slight reduction? It's just non-existent. It's been God knows. Wind the clock back many seasons for the time they've done a price freeze, a price cap on it. So yes, I totally agree on this one. You know, I get that back in the sort of 90s and so on like that. Even up to as early as 2000, you know, there was season ticket, it was healthy, it was a good numbers. The attendances and stuff maybe weren't as high, so there was an incentive there to give you something free, try and get you through the door, to make you spend more money when you're in there, right? I totally understand the reasons, but I don't believe for 1 second that they cannot give you at least one game for nothing on your season book every single season, Paddy.
Aye, mate, honestly, as it's one of the things that really just gets on my wick. And like you said, if they give us one thing, add it onto the price, add it in, and then take it back. It's the thought of getting something for nothing would make the fan base a wee bit happier. And I just feel like if you're paying all that money for season books, you just need to look at Germany, mate. Look at the way Germany run it. You get a season ticket for Bayern Munich for like 140 quid. And that's the way to do it.
Some folk are saying here, Paddy, that Newcastle turned out to be 25. I personally didn't go, so I've no reference point.
I thought 42 quid was the one
I'm just going on with what Paddy's telling us there. I think maybe there was a reduction on the prices, but either way, when you even look at the general prices of some early stage cup games at home, they are still quite high. It's still quite embarrassing, and I don't think there would be any harm in giving you that for nothing, because I know that 20 quid, 25 quid for the X 1,000 turnout is a good wedge in your pocket, but if you probably integrate that into your season ticket book, chances are you get near enough your capacity there, because people will go. If they can't go, they'll maybe pass on the ticket, and then what are they going to do? Maybe not now, of course, because not another penny, but generally speaking, they'll spend money when they're in there. They'll spend money in Superstore. They'll go and buy their snacks, their programme, and all that kind of stuff. And you get your money back anyway, Celtic. So no, I am totally on it. Punch is saying his season ticket was 715 quid.
That's madness. Punch. And it's 715 quid then plus everything else on top of that. All the friendlies. How many friendly matches do we have at Celtic Park?
So, I think I'm probably going to be speaking here to the converted. Punch, just let us know, as a man that's forked out 715 bricks on a season ticket, do you feel that you should at least get one, maybe two, an absolute push? We freebies at the start of the season, a wee early first pre-season friendly at the summer at Celtic Park, and maybe one of your early cup games against Maryhill Stanklifters or whatever garbage team that we normally pull out, rather than rocking up and saying that'll be 25 quid, please, because you may still be on the home ticket scheme.
Right, exactly, mate. It's ridiculous, isn't it? For me, This one's a no-brainer, Stephen. I know you're on camp with me here. I know you agree. It has to go in the bin. And I don't think anybody in the chat disagrees either.
I don't know you're not going to get any kickback. It is not going to be access denied. It is 100% going to be banished. Get it in the bin. We can't be having it. Celtic, get some added value back onto the season tickets. It can't be that hard to give the fans at least one game for nothing on their season book when you're putting up the season tickets every single season. And do you know what else they could do? See if they don't want to give you one game or two games, give you one game and a discount if you take up another.
Even a discount on a top, Steve. Even a discount on one of the kits. You can get a 25% discount on a home kit when you buy a season ticket. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. Something to give back to the fans who basically fucking do everything for that club. Let's think about it. Do you know what I mean? We do absolutely everything. Without us, they're nothing. And this board really, really need to realise that they're running as a business and not as a football team. Because if you run as a football team, then they would look at it the way we were founded, the way we were made, the whole foundations of what Celtic is. This isn't it. And that for me, mate, is why this one had to go.
Absolutely. Well, Paddy, your last one on the agenda here.
Maria said that this one should be Celtic podcasts because he keeps stealing me from her.
Oh, I can't go on. That's not happening. Then what would I do? I've got to be selfish on this one, Paddy. I need to hear. But your third topic, and let us know because I think this might actually get a wee bit of discussion around it. Your third one that you've went for, Paddy, is betting and alcohol sponsors on the Celtic shirt.
Yes.
As we know, over the years, there's been the likes of Carlin, we've had Tennants, we've had Magners. Daffabet now finds its way on there. It's becoming far and far more common in world football. Why? Particularly the gambling, probably because of the amount of money that's been made there that they can give an equal amount of money to the clubs for sponsorships.
Yes.
Why have you went for this one, Paddy? I know it maybe sounds like a right stupid question, but what is it about betting and alcohol sponsors for yourself, mate?
The alcohol ones, mate, for me, it's promoting something that is basically an addiction as well as with the gambling. Now, a lot of people don't know about me, but I still am a compulsive gambler. I had to sort my life out. I was in a very, very bad way at one point. And when Celtic obviously brought out the talk with Daffabet on it, completely, I was like, nah, not buying it, not at all. And then obviously you can get them sponsored. Listen, that's great. That means I can still go and buy the Celtic top. But like you said, Steve, we're getting the Magners on the back of it and the Carlin, Tennants, whatever it was across the front. Even this one's got the Tennants on there and wearing that. Do you know what I mean? I understand. But for me, mate, you shouldn't be promoting something that is going to be detrimental to someone's health or something that's going to be detrimental to somebody's life. And these are lifestyle choices. I understand that. I didn't choose to be a compulsive gambler. It happened to me. And I think on a personal level, this one got me because I just don't think that it should be out there getting rubbed in people's faces. I think sponsors should be local businesses, up-and-coming companies, people who have something to do with Celtic. Promote, I don't know, Cameron commercials. Look at wee Sean out there. He's at every single cup final. He's at his banners going around Celtic Park and stuff like that. Have that across Celtic jerseys for a season. Then let every other company in Glasgow enter into a draw and give them the chance to be on that jersey because let's be honest, it shouldn't really be about the money. I don't know how much Daffabet gave us. I don't know how much Tennants gave us back in the day, but at the end of the day, I don't think it should be promoted on a football club.
What I'll say is, Paddy, not to sort of belittle. Obviously, we good friends for as long as I can ever remember, but not to belittle that side of the story. What I would say is I hear what you're saying, and as much as I like the idea of the return to sort of things like Sear Smith and all that kind of thing, I like that, right? And I can't see or prescribe to the idea of it being smaller, localized businesses, right? See, at the end of the day, Celtic jerseys. If I had my own way, Celtic just wouldn't have a sponsor on the front of the shirt. End of story, right? That's where I would be at. absolutely perfect. Chef's kiss, right? I don't mind on the sleeve. I don't mind something like that. I wouldn't even mind something maybe on the back at the bottom of the shirt or something, right? I'd love to see the shirt completely plain. And in the types of, like, we're coming up to, they're going to have the anniversary shirt for the Lisbon Lions again, as we've seen coming round. What I would like to see for that particular shirt, they didn't do it. Obviously, we had the Alphabet one that was gold. We've had the small tenants, these sort of special occasion shirts where they've tried to minimise it with the one where they whited it out. I'd like for an occasion shirt like that, I would prefer to do similar to what you've seen the likes of Real Madrid done and Barcelona done previously. No sponsor, just keeping it as clean and as close to the original that it's celebrating the homage to that you could possibly get. That for me is what I would do for those special occasion shirts. If I had my way, I'd have no sponsor, but I live in the real world and it's prime real estate. So in terms of money coming in the door, as much as I like the romanticism of it being local businesses and all that, it's not going to happen because...
Do you know who the ideal sponsor I think would be for Celtic, mate? The Celtic Foundation. Celtic Foundation. Get the Celtic Foundation on there, right across the middle of it. Promote the foundation. Promote Celtic from within. That for me is what it's all about. It's what Celtic was founded on. Again, I go back to our roots, and I think people forget that. The board seem to have forgot this. They seem to have forgot where Celtic was born. And for me, mate, that's where it needs to come. Instead of going out there and selling everything that you've got, selling yourself out to put a big, stupid Alphabet or Ladbrokes or Willie Hill or anybody else on the front of it, any drink or whatever.
Well, I mean, there's various connotations. I think the one thing that I've always argued, right now, we spoke with Tony Hamilton, and we spoke about the foundation. And I asked the question, would there be an option to get the foundation on? So you can buy your shirt, sponsorless, and let's just say for an extra £5, you can get it on the front. Now, of course, we discussed it, and I can understand maybe why that doesn't happen, because there's some people out there that have absolutely no morals that will go and buy a replica shirt, they'll plaster it on it, and they'll get it all made up, and they'll try to get it signed, and they'll pass it off and say, that was worn with such and such, so I get it, right? But let's just say that idea that I floated, I says, well, why don't you, if you want to offer the chance to get the foundation on the front, we all know what it looks like, but you change the colour scheme of it for the ones that you sell to the fans. Because then it comes as, if it's normally black on the home tops, it'll be like black and white. Why not change it to green and white, for example, if you want to make that donation, get that in the front of your shirt? Then you can differentiate between the two. I think that's a really, really good idea. Obviously, of course, we know, as you've mentioned, alcohol and betting. That's why many years back we got the sponsorless option came in, because as we became far more responsible and aware as a society, not only for people with addictions and problem that, but also religious reasons and stuff as well. You were isolating large portions of your fan base, and that's probably why the sponsorless shirt sells far faster than the ones that have it on it, Paddy. So I totally agree. But see, with sponsors, obviously, listen, this is going in but I just want to continue the conversation. The one thing I've always wondered is, right, and it is down to money, and maybe Alphabet are offering decent money and, Magners and things like that. The big question I want to ask is, why can't a side like Celtic, with its global appeal, get what you would call a blue chip sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Take, for example, we played Ferencváros, right? And he T-Mobile on the front of their shirt.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fucking big deal. Are you trying to tell me that Celtic couldn't have the likes of T-Mobile on the front of their shirt? That they couldn't have Samsung on the front of their shirt or something similar like that, mate?
Of course they could, mate, but they chose to go with the betting side of it or the alcohol side of it. It's been that for a long, long time now. Even across the city, like 32 Red and things like that, all of these kind of different
What if it was Paddy Power, Paddy?
Well, then that's a different story, isn't it? No, not at all. Not at all. Listen, as much as I'd love to have Paddy Power across the front of it all, I think that'd be a bit mad, but nah, it's still not for me, mate. And I need to stand by this one. I need to stick with it, because it's something, like I said, that's pretty close to my heart. Obviously, I have struggled with it in the past. I've seen a few comments in there. Listen, I am all good now. As much as I'd love to be putting my 4-0 on every single week, I don't do it. So it's one of the things, mate. It's a bit of a bit of a sore one for me, and I think I had to put it across, and I had to get it in there because it just really got me.
Yeah.
No, and like you say, the sponsorless shirts and stuff, perfect.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they sell out, because there's so many people in the same boat.
James saying that, I'm aware, mate. I only buy tops. Paddy will tell you, I only buy tops that have no sponsor on it. The only time I buy a shirt that's got a sponsor on it is if I'm able to source, and I've been quite fortunate over the years to get player issued ones.
Yeah.
And they'll come as they are. Some of them have
Barcelona not have Oxfam at some point on the top? Was it something like that?
They had UNICEF on it. They had
UNICEF, sorry, as well, aye. So again, that's brilliant, promoting charity.
But then, of course, they found themselves in the financial shittery, and they are just pumped out to the Spotify and everything else now. But no, Paddy, listen, I think this one is completely a no-brainer. I just think that I'm less to do with what you've said. I think we know they don't put it on child shirts and things like that because clearly they can't, right? So that's a no-brainer. That has to happen anyway. I think it's just we should be a wee bit more responsible, and folk will go, "Oh, that's soppy, Stevie. That's soppy," right? I just think we should be. I think it is. Do you know what it does for me? It cheapens, and I know it's the whole idea. Yeah. It cheapens the shirt. I just feel that they cheapen the shirt. I don't like alcohol sponsors on it. Did you know the only alcohol sponsor I've ever liked in a shirt was Carlsberg on Liverpool? And I don't know why. I just don't know why. It just looked right. But no, I don't. I think it brings down the tone. It looks quite cheap. It looks quite nasty. And I also think that they're crap sponsors. Yeah. I think that they're absolutely garbage sponsors. I think a club at Celtic should be having, as I said, like what I would call a blue chip sponsor. Right, you know, some of them would look mental, and again, all depends on how it looks. Right, I'd ideally like it to just fit inside one of the hoops. That would be ideal. Depends on who you've got, you can get it. But look at some of the sponsors in world football. There's some brilliant sponsors that are out there, and they'll be paying a heavy wage. They'll be paying some heavy money. You know, so why can't you do it? So see, for me, Paddy, I'm 100% on board with it. For me, the idea of alcohol and betting sponsors, for me, Paddy, that's only going one way. And mate, this is 3 out of 4 because I am 100% banish it to room 10167. Get those crap sponsors, eyesores, cheapen the shirt, bring down the tone of the Celtic shirt, 100%, fully in the bin, mate. In the bin. Well done to you, mate. Well done to you.
75% strike rate. I'll take that, mate. Aye.
3 out of 4. So let us know in the comments. What do you think out of Paddy's selections? Do you agree? Is 3 out of 4 fair on that, or do you think he's reduced away allocation should have got in there? Mul was asking me, what if it was Guinness? People have this romanticism around Guinness. They have this romanticism around about Paddy Power because it's kind of in, Paddy and Ireland, and it kind of plays in. Nah, I don't like it. I would, as I say, I would rather see Celtic way, if they're going to have a sponsor, a blue chip sponsor. Folk are obviously mentioned the likes of Arsenal and stuff have had the likes of Emirates, and there's been things like Nintendo and UNICEF and certain things again, the likes of Emirates and Qatar Air and all that. There'll be people that'll be total, absolutely no. So that's another conversation for another day. But I would rather have, a blue chip, sort of high end, like a tech company or something on there. And I don't think with Celtic's, world reach, that they can't be aiming for that. I just feel as if it's Celtic get offered something, they probably get offered with Alphabet or whoever it is, they get offered like we did with Adidas 10-year. They probably get offered this 5-year, 6-year deal, and they're just like, oh my God, man, 5 years, this is brilliant. And they just don't, but think about what your product is. Think about what Celtic is. You can sell that to anybody, mate. There's no reason why we can't improve on that crap.
Exactly, mate. That's it. Celtic should be able to get anybody they want on the front of their jersey. And I think if we went out there and actually tenured it, there would be a hell of a lot better companies and whatever coming in than Daffabet. Now, again, I'm not sure on what they offered. I'm not sure how long the contract was.
James is saying is that the sponsor with the most money. I don't even know because I refuse. Again, I say this a lot on this show. I refuse to believe that Daffabet would have been the outright highest bidder. I think they'd maybe give them stability. We'll give you a long contract. And that's come back to the boring way that Celtic run the club, or the people that are in the boardroom run the club, is the status quo. It's always just about stability and keeping it nice and straight, rather than go, do you know what? No, we won't. We'll go with such and such a sponsor for 2 seasons, and then we'll roll the dice after those 2 seasons because we're confident we'll get someone else. I think that's how we work.
Yeah, and the thing is, you look at the size, like you're saying in the chat there, the size of the Daft Bet logo is massive. Now this top's, I'm like, yes, it has tenants on it, but it's small. It's just underneath the badge. And it's there.
How better does this look?
Yeah, with the Celtic Foundation on it, mate. It's perfect. It's absolute class. And it's a thing, and it's given back to the club. It's going back to the foundations of why we were founded. And that's it, mate. Obviously, you've all seen the new video now as well with Paul McStay and about giving back to Celtic. And I fully push everybody to go do that as well. Because, again, look back to your roots. I was that young guy once who would have took any Celtic top, Steve. I wouldn't have cared if it had the Daft Bet logo on it, if it had fucking tenants on it or anything. You would have took it, of course you would have. But again, it comes back to now what your beliefs are at a time. And for me, this is just one of the things that really got on my nerves.
And on that, just before we move on, Paddy, it's going to be made clear, I believe, from the collective that not another penny does not apply to the Celtic FC Foundation. It is a charity. It is fully charitable. It's no line in the pockets of the board. It's no getting filtered into some other facet of the club. It's for charity. Get behind that. Get your hands in your pockets, because we're not going to be spending it elsewhere. We might as well give that money to charity. So that's my wee message there, I would say. But yes, Paddy, let's get ourselves on. Thank you very much, mate. 3 out of 4. I like that. And I know what I liked as well? The speed of you. You were quick. You were sharp. You knew what you wanted to say. And you almost convinced me. You almost convinced me in 4. But that would be considered... Mate, that would be considered as jobs for the boys if you got all 4, and it was never going to happen.
Do you know what, mate? Jobs for the boys was actually one that I thought about.
My integrity is intact. Steve-O's integrity is intact. I will not bow down to you just because you're my right-hand man here, mate. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. This isn't the Celtic boardroom. Fuck you.
Listen, 3 out of 4 ain't bad, mate. I'll take that.
Yep. So anyway, listen, as we said on the advertisement for this, we're also going to have a wee sneak peek ahead to tomorrow's early kickoff against Midtjylland, Paddy. Now, of course, as we know, St. Martin's came in, aided by Fozzie, the legend. Love him, can't get enough Fozzie action, and Sean Maloney. It's fair to say, Paddy, that it's been like flicking a switch. It's been night and day in terms of the performances. Yes, it's only 2 games. We keep saying that, and it's cliche. Take them as they come. There's no doubt here, Paddy, that Midtjylland, if I'd said to you a couple of seasons ago, and we've played Midtjylland, they're familiar as, Midtjylland's going to be a hard game in Europe, you probably have told me, shut up, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably, mate. Sviatchenko not play for them at one point as well. I don't know if he still does.
I think he did. I don't know where he's at now, mind you.
I'm not sure. I remember Big Eric playing for them. Again, Steve, it's one of the teams. They're always there or thereabouts. They're one of these teams. They're not a European powerhouse. They're not a massive first-name team that you go, I don't want to play them. But like you said, Steve, see when you kind of look at how they're sitting this season and where they're at, you kind of opens your eyes a wee bit.
Let's bring it up here. I mean, here's the Europa League details for them as it is. You know, quite surprising maybe to some in terms of where they're in the Europa League. I'll just drop us down so that the good folk at home can hopefully see as much of this as possible. So having a wee sneak peek, I'll take away some of these here so we can see it. Having a look there at the results so far for them. Match day 1, 2-0 against Sturm Graz. We're very familiar with that, obviously ourselves having beat them and Rangers being beat by them. There's also a result there against Maccabi Tel Aviv, and most notably, probably the biggest one there for them is, of course, they managed to run out 3-2 winners against Nottingham Forest. Now, of course, that there, as you can see, that puts them pretty much in a right good place, Paddy. This is their domestic league. I shall bring up the standings for the European as well, but they are right at the top of the pile, mate. They're at the top of the pile. They score a lot of goals, and they're not conceding much. They're a team that are very much in form, and we've got to mind the danger of that, you know.
Yeah, of course, and it's a team that's near the end of the season as well, Steve. Obviously, their season runs till December, I think, doesn't it?
I think
Hence
so.
why we'll be waiting on
Well,
Newton
as
coming
it
in.
stands at the moment, domestic, they're second in the Superliga. They have 29 points, 14 games played, 8 wins, 5 draws, 1 loss. They've scored 36, mate,
Wow.
and they've only conceded 16. That's pretty good going for them.
Aye, they're a decent side, obviously attacking, and listen, people will talk about the league that they're in and say it's not a challenging league and whatever else, but listen, you can only play what's in front of you, and they're doing that. The result against Nottingham Forest, I did see a wee bit of that game, looked absolutely brilliant. They looked direct, they looked powerful. They're not a team that we're just going to shrug off the ball in the middle of the park. You're going to need to play around them, you're going to need to hit them with pace. And we're going to need to defend like our life depends on it, because they're a decent outfit. They remind me kind of going back and playing teams like Rosenborg. Mine, we used to always get Rosenborg in the first round of the qualifiers and stuff, and they were halfway through their season, and we're just coming out of pre-season, getting to play them, and that's kind of what it reminds me of. Is that because they're at that crucial point in their season where they're starting to kind of just kick on. They're pushing now, and we're kind of just coming off the back of a couple of good results. This could be a good point for us to get them, but again, going out there, Celtic don't always travel well in Europe. It's going to be a real tough one for me, mate.
I think in terms of, really sort of a measuring stick, obviously we know that Rangers were a big sort of, stone around our neck. We hadn't performed well against Rangers for a long, long time. That was a huge sort of watershed moment for Celtic to go out and perform the way that we did. Let them complain about how it came around. They should have been put to bed long before that situation. But yes, I feel that this is another really tough test, a really big sort of game for ourselves, that if we get a result that will really show that we're rejuvenated, we're in a strong position. I mean, having a look at the Europa Leagues, this is the top of the pile. They've played 3 games. They've won 3 games. In the process, they've scored 8 goals, mate, and they've only conceded 2. And take it as you want to find it in terms of the quality of the opposition. Or, people say there, but Nottingham Forest, for example, you can't, no matter what you think of Forest and the sort of mess that they may well be in, they are a Premier League team, and they were a very good Premier League team last season with still very, very good players in it. Sturm Graz, do you know what? They beat them at home. Take that one as you find it. And of course, as well, there's the points that they pick up elsewhere. So, Tel Aviv, no matter what you think of them, but they're, on the crest of a wave at the moment, mate.
Aye, that's it. They're a team that are flying high, and as are we. We're obviously coming back off of the bouncy to really good results. Just winning a semi-final, and then obviously the game against Falkirk. So we're coming off of the back of good results. We've got Martin O'Neill in there, we've got Sean Mahoney in there, a wee bit of freshness. Good to see, obviously, Callum Osmond getting added to the squad as well.
Because I believe that was on the rule of you have a long-term injury, you can replace. So we've changed out Carter Vickers for Osmond, I believe. Now, again...
hope he doesn't play Osmond at centre-half, though. That'd be a bit shit.
I think we needed Osmond in there. We needed that extra bit of firepower. And I was actually really quite happy to hear, he's a guy that doesn't lack any confidence. But we also hear the story from Maloney identifying him and saying to Martin O'Neill, I think this is a player that you like, by the way. There have been conversations had. Martin O'Neill showing faith in him, and obviously he got his rewards. He came on. I thought he had a very good substitution appearance against Rangers. He created chances. He looked instinctive. He looked something completely different for Johnny Kenny. They are 2 different players, I would say, completely different in their styles. Johnny Kenny's full of work, and he's full of, hustling and bustling and putting in the tackles. To be fair to Osmond, he did that as well. I don't know what we're going to get out of him, because I have only got that really to judge him on, that game against Rangers. But to me, he looks like the kind of penalty box striker, opportunistic. So it's a good combination. There. Options, mate, as they say.
If we're going to be putting balls into the box and we're going to be wanting to catch teams on the break, which would be ideal against, obviously, this Michelin side, like I said, they're very well drilled. They're solid in the middle of the park. We're going to need to beat them with pace. We're going to need to swing balls into the box and have strikers on the end of it. And I think having a young laddie in there like obviously Kenny, like Osmond, guys that are absolutely flying with confidence at the minute. Again, all down to Martin O'Neill. When you seen young Osmond's interview, and I'll be honest with you, I was nearly greeting when he's sitting there and obviously said that Martin O'Neill's come in and Martin said that I've watched you play, I've watched what you can do. I'm very, very impressed with how you conduct yourself, and you'll get a chance here. And do you know what I mean? That's brilliant. Giving that opportunity to such a young laddie who, when he came in at Celtic under Brendan, has just sat there and thought, what the fuck am I doing here? Do you know what I mean? He sat there and thought, why have I come here? I could have been playing down south for Fulham. I could have went to out alone and our team down there and been getting time. And he's been given that opportunity, and by God, he's grabbed it with both hands.
Again, we don't want to rewind the clock, and it's not going to be a shit on Brendan Rodgers' decision-making process here. It's not, absolutely not, right? But when he was brought in, Martin O'Neill was spoken to him, and he made all the noises of, he's not a guy that's going to be fired into the developmental squad. He's going to be part of the first team squad, and then just disappears, nowhere to be seen. Again, I can only say based on what I think, and I thank Brendan Rodgers. I think he was the right manager at the right time when he came in and delivered success. The football started to get bad. I'll never have turned away from saying that. But I also question some of his decision making. Why tell us that this guy is going to feature and then he's never to be seen? Because he didn't look like a guy when he came on against Rangers that didn't have the credentials to hack it, even as an impact sub. It wasn't like he ran about like a heedless chicken, was thrashing at shots, sending them into the stands, taking out people's faces and stuff. It looked like a fairly accomplished young striker. He didn't look like problems.
He looked really composed, mate. He looked as if he knew exactly what he was doing. And that's exactly what you needed. It's one of the things we've been lacking a striker since Kyogo. We really have. You can say what you want about Adam Eady, you can say what you want about Ihi Anacho, but let's be honest, they've not been the Celtic quality that we've been looking for. Johnny Kenny's come in, he's been given an opportunity and he's grabbed it with both hands. Callum Osmond was given, like you said, a substitute appearance in a cup semi-final, and he's come on and he's grabbed it by both hands. So I think it's absolutely unbelievable. And I'm really, really chuffed with it. I'm just going to say, somebody on TikTok here as well, I don't know, I saw the rumour mill starting and stuff as well. Apparently Bellamy's in Glasgow. He's been picked up by Rahman, whoever Rahman is.
I will take that with the biggest bit of salt ever. I
would be happy with somebody like him coming in. Definitely not.
I will file that under absolute pish, right? The man spoke today and he says, I want to take Wales to the World Cup. End of story. He's no interested.
Maybe doing a speaker night or something.
And he doesn't want it. So I think that's a lot of nonsense. Exactly. It was McDonald saying there, you ruled yourself out today. You're going to get this. You're going to get this rumour mill. It's absolute garbage. But see, just looking at this game tomorrow, yes, and Jay put on a great thing there. Whoever thought of it? Sunday, we played the team bottom of the Europa League. Thursday, we play the team top off it. Do you think we're actually going to see anything different from Martin O'Neill and Maloney? We always talk about playing. The idea of player football is admirable, right? Yeah. It's admirable, but sometimes you've got to assess in game. You've got to change. You maybe got to mix things up. It's probably. I do think that they will try to continue as they have went on, but I do feel that if we need to do a wee bit of adapting in that game, that you will actually get it, and you'll get it at an earlier juncture than we might have elsewhere, mate.
I hope so, mate. It's one of the ones. We just need to go out and we need to hit it for the start. We really need to grab this one by the balls. And like I say, going away from home in Europe, I always edge on the thing with caution. I know I'm your original, let's go 4-0 guys, we'll smash them, we'll do this, we'll do that. But going away from home against a team like this, even I'm sceptical. Even I'm sitting there going, right, I'd probably bite your hand off for a draw right now. A draw away from home against a team like Midtjylland, whether people like to admit it or not, is a very, very good result. Is it a good result, Paddy? Is it a good result for, and I'll throw the factors at you and you tell me, one, the old cliche, Celtic don't travel well in Europe, right? There's that. But is it more of, it's a good result at this moment in time, simply because they're top and we're coming out of a dark period
does that make it a good result? See if Celtic were, whether it was Brendan Rodgers or whether it was the current regime, and we were on a run of 8 to 10 games, it doesn't look like a good result to me in those circumstances. Is it a wee bit of circumstance and where we are and where they are that a draw seems like a good result?
Yeah, kind of. When you look at the way both teams are playing and where both teams are sitting, obviously we're both sitting second in our projected leagues and stuff, and Celtic have probably been playing the better football coming into this, I think. But you're looking at their previous results, like you say, Steve, against Nottingham Forest, against Sturm Graz, and even domestically, they're looking strong. They're scoring a lot of goals. They're not conceding many. Yeah, they conceded 2 goals against Nottingham Forest, but let's face it, pretty much everybody in the Europa League are capable of conceding 2 goals against that Nottingham Forest side, because they're, like you say, they're proven Premier League side, and whether they're doing much this season or not, they're still there. They're there on merit. And Midtjylland basically gave them a lesson. They went out, mate, and they absolutely bloated them. They overpowered them big time. And yes, I would love to say that we'll go out there and scud them. A win is a great result, mate. Listen, a win's an incredible result away from home.
Sausage wants blood. He wants blood on the YouTube comment there. A win is a good result.
As do I. I would love to say that we'll go out there and keep a clean sheet.
I tell you what, Paddy, I think a win,
that's not happening.
A win really catapults our season.
Oh,
a draw's just ticks another box and goes, do you know what? 3 games in the bounce. We've not lost. Away to Europe, and it ticks that wee box of saying, yep, Europe tough. There's a point. It's something to build on.
But then
I think a win really catapults our European season and brings us back into the frame a wee bit. Brings more confidence.
The thing is, Martin O'Neill in charge, mate. Martin does really well in Europe. He knows how to play. You think back to some of the teams that we played back in 2003. Yes, it's a different squad. Yes, you can argue the bits of that. But, I mean, we had Celta Vigo with Blackburn Rovers, with Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Boavista. All of these kind of teams. And it was easy. Do you know what I mean? We went away from home. We were beating teams away from home. We were doing so much different. We were changing formations. And that's another thing as well. This management team that we've got in there, we probably won't start with a 4-3-3. We might look at this game and go, right, wait a minute, we need to adapt here. We need to do something different. We need to change. And now that they've had time with the squad, they can start changing things like that. Obviously, going into the Falkirk game, the Falkirk game came too soon in Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney's tenure to change the formation. So they went with the tried and tested, changed a couple of players, and it worked out. It worked in our favour. The semi-final, again, you've seen slight changes in there. There was adaptability in the squad. To me, it looked like a kind of 4-3-2-1. 4-2-3-1, sorry, with your 3 behind Johnny Kenny. And it was that wee bit different again. And it's nice to see that. That's something that we wouldn't have got under Brendan Rodgers. Brendan would have just been so samey, exactly what you've always had. You go with the 4-3-3 regardless. Now I think we can go into games and we can adapt the formation, and it's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Well, Paddy, just to sort of wrap it all up before we head out, there's questions getting asked here. McDonald's asking this. Now he says, do you think a positive result might convince the club to try and keep a Neil Maloney on to January? We're still expecting a postman at the door by the end of the international break now. On that, that's a nice wee segue. Myself and Paddy will be on A Celtic State of Mind on Friday again for their flagship Friday show. This is Axom, and it is basically a deep dive on all the candidates off the managers. Now, we don't want to give away too much and ruin what we said on there, but we will touch on some of it. And this was certainly something that came up. I heard that again for my sins, listening to a wee bit of the Clyde SSB because I wanted to hear some misery, and it was continuing. It was glorious. But yes, I think that we are very much in a stage of taking it, game by game. And I've seen a lot of reports, and I've seen a lot of Rangers fans laughing. You've been turned down with him, you've been turned down with that. You've been turned down by Van Bommel. You've been turned down with Ange Postecoglou. You've been turned down with McKenna. Now, I don't know about you, Paddy, right? But see, this moment in time, I have not heard anything. Oh, you've been turned down with Bellamy. I've not heard anything official to say, yes, Celtic have approached these people. They've had talks with them, and they've decided that they have not wanted it. There's 2 different things here. All the laughing was Rangers are in talks advanced talks with such and such, and I've put it to them, they've all turned away and walked away from it, right? Factual, they've been sat down and spoke to it. I've not heard anything up to this stage, Paddy. It's only been 8 days or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Celtic have actually had a proper sit-down conversation with people. So on that, what's your thoughts, Paddy?
Celtic are waiting for the right man. We don't need to rush into this. Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney are doing a fantastic job at the minute, right? And I think that they've got the best of both worlds. I think that even if they lose tomorrow, it's okay. It's not going to affect them. They're not going to be told, that's it, you've lost, out you go. You said when you come in, you'd win every game. That's not going to happen, right? Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney are doing a fantastic job. They're unifying the fan base. The fan base are getting together. We're getting back behind the team. And it's exactly what we need at this minute in time. Yes, we still protest against the board. We're protesting outside the stadium. We're doing it the right way. We're doing things the way that things should be done. And I just feel like Celtic aren't going to rush into this. I feel like this is the time right now where we can sit and we can go, right, wait a minute. Who do we want? Bellamy? Nah, he's not a man for us. McKenna could be the man for us. Let's see. Let's talk to him. Possibly after he's done whatever he needs to do there.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And all of these guys sitting there, like we said, Ange Postecoglou just had 2 massive payouts for 2 big Premier League clubs. Is he going to be interested in going for another job? Are we even going to be interested in going for him? We don't know, mate. But listen, it's all if, buts and maybes.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this is the one thing I would want to say, though, is I'm fully there with Kevin saying, you know, Martin O'Neill would trust, certainly in Martin O'Neill, and I must say, folk don't like it because, just in case, and also Sean Maloney. There's got to be a lot of even spread praise for the temporary team that are in place. Folk won't want to give Maloney praise because he's inbuilt and he's in the club and all that stuff, right? But let's be honest here, him and Fozzie, they'll be the guys that are doing all the drills, they'll be doing all the training. Martin will be the all-seeing eye, he'll be the one that'll be casting the pearls of wisdom, right?
If you don't train 3 out of the 5 days, you'll no be in my squad.
So what means he's not Martin O'Neill, let's be honest, is a figurehead. I'm not saying he's got no tactical input, absolutely not. But the absolute basis of the training is done by the other guys, and we know that history's shown us that. He'll be that decision maker, but all the prep and the staff and the tactics will predominantly be those guys, so they deserve praise. Now, what I would say on that, it'll be interesting to see, because if we were to win tomorrow, again, there'll be people calling for it. I heard folk calling for him online. I heard it on the radio again tonight. Martin O'Neill must be considered at the end of the season. But what I don't want Celtic to do here is, I don't want Celtic just to, because they're onto a good thing, to fall into that temporary manager trap, right?
Yes.
We've seen it at certain clubs. It usually happens down south. I'm looking at the likes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He comes in, stabilises, get all that investment buy-in. They're playing quite well. Oh, that's it. Just keep them on. And it doesn't. It literally is, bottling thunder, and it's a short, sharp shock. It's instantaneous and it yields results. But maybe it is just for that temporary period, and really enjoy what's there. So I wouldn't have any issues with Maloney and O'Neill getting kept on for an extended period of time, as long as it's with a view of cutting that cord when the time is right and getting the right person in. Maybe even when you get a new manager coming in, I'm not saying they would want it, but some level of sort of handover period. And if that meant, again, I wouldn't be adverse. I know he's saying he doesn't want the manager's job, which is good. Now it makes a lot of people feel better. If Mahoney was going to be part of a new setup coaching, I wouldn't be against that. I wouldn't be against it. If Martin O'Neill's going to move upstairs into a secondary role, maybe like a director of football, wouldn't be against it. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm taking it and enjoying the ride as it goes, but I'm not going, it has to be Martin O'Neill, because I'm realistic, Paddy.
Yeah. Nah, listen, mate, you're absolutely spot on, and I doubt anybody in the chat can cause any argument on that. I just feel like they're doing an incredible job, and we don't want to, like they say, keep them there to the end of the season and then it doesn't go our way. And I don't know if it would ever happen, but I wouldn't like Martin to lose his legendary status. I think he's come in and he's stabilised the fan base, which I think he was brought in to do. And I think Sean Maloney's done an incredible job, along with Fozzie, like you said, stabilising the football team, stabilising these players and getting them to believe in themselves. And obviously Martin's had a massive hand in that as well, with, like you say, when you listen to some young guys like Osmond and whatever else. But Aye, mate, listen, we're in a good place. We're playing good football. Prediction for tomorrow night, I'm going to go for one each.
Yeah.
Hopefully sneak a 2-1.
I think I would have to be honest with you and say that I'm thinking a draw as well. A draw in any sort of version, 1 each, 2 each, 3 each. I think more than likely this moment in time, if I'm just basing it on, I know we've had 2 games have looked positive. It is still only 2 games. But I think my heart tells me, and a wee bit in my head, that it's probably going to be a draw. And as we say, I think just because of the backdrop and where we're at, I think that seems like a fair result. I think a win's what we should be aiming for, absolutely, and we will be aiming for that. And I think a win does far more for us, obviously, but I really think that catapults our season and pushes us forward further. James Kennedy's saying 2-1, but yeah, I don't think that we will lose. I will say that, and I think that seems like a fair enough result. And we'll see where it goes. We'll see where this manager situation takes us. As I said, there's lots of names come back. Again, something we spoke about, and it was like, would you take Klopp? Absolutely, but listen, that's not going to happen. And then there was other names, McKenna. We've seen the likes of Nonce. I get asked the question, what do you think of Bruges manager Hayden? And I literally just went, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. No, why? Because it wasn't even on my radar. And that's the thing. There's so many names flying about, Paddy, and you'll see it as I say, watch Axel on Friday, 6 o'clock, myself, Paddy, and Paul John Diggs. Deep diving this in more detail. But one thing I would say, Paddy, is Celtic need to take their time with this. They need to get it right. And yes, there's pros and cons, and we looked at them for every manager, but there's nobody out there, for me personally, that it's boom, nail the colours to the mast. That's the one, and nobody else is acceptable. Even the likes of come back to the likes of Hayden, however you want to say his name, at Bruges. Yeah, they're doing great things, but remember, you are getting the manager, not the club, not the setup, the manager. And sometimes what's behind them helps what they do on the pitch. So we've got to remember that. Nielsen as well is a perfect example, Paddy.
Yeah, I've said that before as well. And you look at these clubs, Bruges, Sporting Lisbon, teams like that, they're all doing really well. Their setups are great. And we're going to them and buying players from them while they buy better players from somewhere else. And that's why they're that wee bit ahead. And I feel like you said, Steve, bringing in a manager from that side isn't necessarily the answer for us. I've kind of nailed my colours to the mast when it comes to who I would like. And obviously you will see that on the This Is Axum show on Friday. So please tune in and watch that. And yeah, it is for me, mate. And like you say, we don't want to put all our eggs in the one basket again. Sorry. Don't want to put all our eggs
after that.
I know. We don't want to put all our eggs in the one basket again. That's kind of where I'm at. You look at the whole Eddie Howe situation. Oh, we're getting Eddie Howe. We're getting Eddie Howe. Yep. Oh, no, he's away somewhere else. Let's bring in this Australian guy, see how he does. And obviously done really well. Thank you very much, Ange. But for me, it's one of the ones, mate, where I want the right man for the job, and I don't care how long it takes to get him, because at the minute we're doing well.
Yeah, and that's another thing, just to finish up on it, Paddy. One thing I would like to see us do is not to get into this public circus that we saw with Rangers. If it's possible, keep your cards close to your chest, conduct your interviews, do it, and then make an announcement. That's the way I want Celtic to return to their business. I want it to be done properly. I want it to be done efficiently, but I also want it to be not a rush job. It's imperative, but it's such a key point of this season. We are doing well, and I am not against, as I say, keeping on O'Neill and keeping on Maloney until it is 100% cast iron and sorted. Don't rush it. For me, the sweet spot perfectly is coming out the international break or even during it, so we can get them integrated and get them down and running. But I'm not going to lose any sleep if it goes after that, so long as it's not because we're farting about, it's because we're doing what needs to be done to get it right. Yes, you could argue from when Rodgers gets sacked to the middle of the international break, that's about 3 weeks or so, and that should be more than acceptable. Maybe. But there could be variables depending on who you're chasing, Paddy. So let's get it right. Let's not make an arse here.
No, exactly, mate. We've got one chance to go for this, and let's make it the right one. I just want to say as well, everybody that's on TikTok, please head across to YouTube, Celtic World Order Podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Try and boost the numbers across there, because that's where we normally stream. And if you do go on there, you get to see Steve-O's lovely coupon and mine, my lovely wee background, and all of the comments coming in as well. that's basically where we do everything. And it's very, very hard for me to look at the comments on YouTube and the comments on TikTok as well. So I know I've got a lot of guys in there making some great points. People asking for Martin O'Neill to get the job to the end of the season and things like that. There was somebody called you out, Steve-O, and said, did you want to put a bet on that Bellamy would get the Celtic job as well? And I would like to say, yes, mate, I will put that bet on me.
You won't put on a bet. You're recovering. You've just told us.
I have this here. Let me see. I have a signed Peter Grant replica top here
Centenary.
from Centenary of the Year. So I tell you what, mate, if Bellamy's announced within the next week, that top is yours. If he isn't announced in the next week, what I want you to do is I want you to donate £50 to the Celtic Foundation.
That's a bold shout. But there you go. Nah, I think this is Paddy. We'll get it right, hopefully. And Martin O'Neill we trust so far. Yes, let's keep that going. The game's up tomorrow. Let's hope. We went for a draw. There's a lot of positivity there. But yeah, another good outing, another good showing. And I think that is the way that we need to go. So listen, thanks to everybody for joining us. Those that are still listening to me and can still see Paddy as well on TikTok, thank you very much. And as he says, get yourself over there. I think we're about 50-odd, 60 away from 3,000. Get involved. That is our main destination, and support the channel. Thanks to everybody.
If everybody on my TikTok moves across, Steve-O will hit it. No problem.
If everybody on that TikTok moved overnight, then we'd find ourselves circling about close to 8,000. So, you know what? If you watch your TikTok, why no hit subscribe on this? It costs you nothing. See, even if you just want to do it to support us and you'd never watch on YouTube, there, it helps us. It gets more Celtic fans into the community, into the conversation, and helps us reach more like-minded folks. So, Paddy, thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure as always. And it's nice to do these wee things a wee bit differently. Well done on your 3 out of 4 hit rate. You have managed to fill up room 10167 further. We'll be continuing this series on. There's some other people lined up in the pipeline, and I might even just come out and we'll flip the roles, Paddy, and you might be able to cast the final rule, judge, jury, and executioner over my gripes, mate.
Perfect. Is that why you've been so nice to me, Steve? Because you're wanting your stuff put in room 101 as well?
Absolutely not, mate. I must say, I'll be honest with you. I think everybody so far that's came on has had good things to say. And I'll be honest, I was impressed because you came at ones that were pretty on the nose. So well done to you, Paddy. You've basically you've upped the standard here. You've made it harder for the next person, whoever that may well be. So listen, take care of yourself, everybody. Enjoy the game that comes around. Remember, early kick-off, the Snyder of Thursday Night Football strikes again. Let's hope for a good result. And regardless, win, lose, or draw, we will be back at some stage to pick over the bones. So until the next time, take care of yourselves, subscribe to the channel, get a wee thumbs up. And Paddy, what else, mate?
As always, hail, hail.
Bye.